the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
I don't want to lose. I want to win!
I need professional help.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sports Betting Weekly, sponsored by EasySportsData.com. The books use data, shouldn't you too? And this is easy sports data, like the preschoolers use. EasySportsData.com.
I win here and I win there. Now what?
Sports Betting Weekly.
I want to win!
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
You should also check out SportsBettingLessons.com. You'll learn some old tricks because sometimes how you bet is more important than who you bet. SportsBettingLessons.com.
Let's just do it. Let's meet this thing head on. And you were in it to win it. Talk about an education.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Wow, winning.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Welcome to Sports Betting Weekly. It is Thursday night. It is the beginning of the football season, but we had a live action winner last week. The only problem, Black Hawk West from 151 Sports Investing, is the games don't start till right now. But one of the things that is good about that is that we can kind of bounce off each other what we anticipate is going to happen and whether or not you have any action before the get-go. So we've got the pro game, but now here's what do I know. I know Black Hawk West, and I know the pro game today is an NFC East matchup. So I know there's a better shot of his dog sleeping outside tonight than there is of him betting that game. And I pretty much right. I would imagine the dogs sleep real close to you.
They sure do. One of them in bed with us, for that matter.
Don't get me wrong. There are people that put their dogs in crates, and those people have the right to put their dogs in crates, but that's not me. So anyway, we are live. If you're in New York, it's just about 8 o'clock. We are live on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We're going to be on the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, the Sports Betting Channel, and really our number one goal is always to cash tickets. And the reason we say that is because if you cash tickets, you win money. And if you win money, you can bet more money. If you don't cash tickets, sooner or later, and you mentioned that early to your group last night on your Chicago options traders, Black Hawk West, about if you run out of money, and we talk about it with our commandments for sports betting lessons, trust me, that's the next game's winning. You don't have to even ask. That was a lock.
Well, and that was one of the lessons you taught me was take the last game of the weekend and bet that one first. Because if all else fails, that one can't flaunt the win in your face and you should have, and you got your action there if all else fails. And
what I tend to do is I'll tend to hook it up in a couple parlays with earlier in the weekend games. So I'm sitting there with and this weekend was a fine example. So I keyed everything to Baltimore. I really liked Baltimore in that game, but I was all on the first half because here's my logic as we've talked before. If I'm wrong at halftime, I'm going to get better odds than I had. And if I'm right, I'm going to cash. So as you know, because we were on the text together, John was, John's here. But John, I mean, really, if we did a blood alcohol test for John right now, he might still show. He might still show some from Monday. It's Thursday, so that's not that far away. Monday and Thursday.
You might be right on that one.
Yeah. But what happens is then you've got, and then of course then I turned around and went on the over, and it was funny because it was the easiest over in the world in hindsight. But that third quarter they scored 3 points. So, but then what did I tell? John? Did I call electric or did I call electric? Did you freeze up on me, John?
I think you might have.
Yeah, I did that. I said, I see an electric second half. I underestimated because that was high voltage football. It was such a great game. It was so exciting. And what a wild finish to think you won. Now, I'm not talking about the players on the field. Who cares about them? To think you won in the sports book and then you didn't win and then you won. Oh, my God. No wonder John was hitting those IPAs pretty hard. Man.
Chaz. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm waiting for you to talk.
before we get too far, and I apologize for interrupting, we got a college game that's going to kick off here, and I am in it for a first half play and a first quarter play.
All right, so let's talk about that game because I got some serious Easy Sports data in front of me. I've got the Easy Sheet, which takes 36 pages of NFL data and puts it into 2 pages. I got every single stat from 2021 Week 7, and we're going to get a couple of those games, and then we're going to go and get you'll have to come back on Saturday, right? Blackhawk West will give you the rest of those winners on Saturday. But here's what I'm going to just say real quick. When it comes to tonight's game, I spent 4 days stuck in Lafayette, Louisiana, and the people down there were so kind and gracious to us, from the mechanic who didn't charge us $1 to the guy at Edie's Biscuits who gave us breakfast when we were trying to buy breakfast for the mechanics because they didn't charge us $1. He wouldn't take my money because their next story says, this is what they like. Give them the catfish tray. He gave me a catfish tray for free. They were just so wonderful. But the problem is, all they do is give up points. Every single person scores points against them. Here's the stat that I have for that game. They have allowed 20-plus in 9 of their 10. The only team that didn't score 20 on it was South Alabama, so that's not a powerhouse. Ohio has scored 21-plus in 14 of 15 of their last games, and the over-under on team total is 18.5. When one team does nothing but score more than 18.5, and one team does nothing but give up more than 18.5, and the line's 18.5, that's what I did. So what do you do? What did you do, Wes?
So I'm looking at this game, and I'm looking at Curtis Rourke for Ohio. His older brother was a 5-year starter. He's now playing in the CFL, but Curtis has got the arm of the brothers, and I don't think he's quite figured out how to use his legs yet. And what I'm playing in this game is I'm playing Ohio for the first quarter over 0.5, so just a field goal. I'm not touching the game spread, but I also like Ohio for over 7.5 for the game. Ohio is probably a 6-6 team. You know, maybe
you met for the first half, though, right? 7.5.
Yeah,
for
the first half over 7.5, and I think that in order to do that, they got to get started with that first quarter. You know, they're probably a 500 team or a little bit better, but if they lose this game tonight, that's 0 for 3. They got Northwestern coming up on their schedule. They got some really tough games coming up that's going to make it difficult. And again, they're a 500 or a 500 type team, maybe a 7-5 team, but I like those two numbers. The 19.5, the 18.5, 21 is what it originally opened at for the game. I don't know that I'm laying 21.5 on the Raging Cajuns. I appreciate that they were nice to my friend during your stay.
Here, I'll tell you this one. I got another one for you. September 22 of 2018. That was the last time that Ohio got more than 7. That was 7.5 points. That was the most Ohio has gotten. That was the biggest road underdog they have until tonight, where they're getting 20. Again, could I be wrong? Could ULL just dominate this game? Sure, but I need 3 touchdowns from a team that gets 3 touchdowns. So, Wes, wow, did we both hit that one together, huh?
Yeah, we sure did.
John, GMF Sports Consultants, congratulations on your money line win Monday Night Football. What did you get it at? You hear me now?
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Well, I know you hopped on the Raiders money line when they were losing.
Yeah, when they were losing. Yeah, it was I forget the odds. I have to go back and look at the ticket, but it was up to plus 200 range on there. So that's what I hopped in. I was already invested, in them for the spread, and that was also the last leg of my circa pick too. So I decided just to kind of jump all in there. I figured at money line it was worth to throw a little nibble on it. Why not? No
doubt, and that's what the Blackhawks was. I think he used that. He might have been that word exactly he used. I didn't go through the text, But so if you look at the bottom of the screen right now, you're going to see how do you find us, where you can get these plays from. But between them, they went 7-3 on opening week in the circa. And you know what? John was 4-1. Wes was 3-2. That's all. That's really all you got to do in one of those contests. You just got to hang around. You can't go 0-5. Can't go 1-4. Yeah, you can even go 2-3 a couple times. 2-3, 3-2. You got to get points. You got to just keep staying ahead of the game because that's what'll get you up above that cash. And they do different things, right? The short little 3-week contest and 6 weeks and 10 weeks and stuff. So we're going to keep up with you guys and your Circa plays, mostly because I get to tag Circa. And you know what? If you saw on our Facebook page, if you saw the point spread, the pictures from when we were there, we took the guys to Circa and we watched the game. Now it was wintertime. It was a wee bit chilly up there on the roof. Okay. But those suckers were swimming in the pool. I was in shorts, so it was warm. As you know, it could be warm when you're downtown on the ground, but you go up on the top of the roof and all of a sudden, and then it was like September. So as you know, John, because you live there, it gets cooler at night up there. But what an environment. It just is an incredible place to watch a game. It really is. They've done a great job there. So we'll keep up to date with you guys there. But in terms of the live action, so the NFL game is kicking off. Now, I have that game in a contest that I do on one of my books, which is pick the exact score. Now, I picked the exact score pretty close on a couple big games in the last year and a half. So I like that contest. I've got it 18-13, the Washington football team. That's what I see. I'm not invested in this game. I do have some small bets with the under. However, I will watch this game, and if somebody scores early and beats me out of my under, I might hop on that under at an over price because it's 20, I think, right, for the first half and 40 for the game. That's a little points, but this is NFC East football, and if it's bad enough to drive Wes away from doing something that he loves more than anything, which is to bet on sports, it's bad football. John, are you on this game at all?
Not really. No, I took a little teaser just to have a little bit of action, but I'm torn on this game. Yeah, it's so hard to call this game here.
I told Wes, we were talking this week, I got money in my account because we won money. We win money. I haven't made a deposit since the season started. I'm playing with their money. I haven't cashed for much, but I've got a lot of money. Everything's good. I'm really happy, but I'm working all night. So I'm playing these little quarter units on baseball last night. So last night I lost $2. I must have made 18 bets. I lost $2. The day before I probably made 17 or 20 bets, somewhere in that range, a little less or a little more. And I won $5. So I'm up $3. And I must have watched, 7 to 10 hours of baseball. And I won $3. But you know what? It does make having a little small unit, John, it makes it funner to watch, doesn't it?
No, it does. Exactly. That's what it's all about. Setting limits and knowing when to step away from games like this and kind of, easing back. That's the biggest thing in being successful in sports betting. So, put a couple bucks on it. Nothing wrong with that. But yeah, as far as putting any type of major money on tonight's game, I just don't see it. I would probably lean to under too, just because of Washington's defense. And obviously I think maybe some offensive struggles both teams would have. But
you know what? I always notice on Twitter when they show the big tickets, so the guys that are reporting for Vegas, they'll say something like, the Circa reported today that, a player put 50 grand on this team or in this point spread or whatever the case may be. And I always laugh because some of the bets, they look so stupid. Who would bet that much money on that play? And then they lose. And I said, you know what? They were stupid and they don't deserve to have that money. The sportsbook deserves to have that money. That person was stupid, And we're talking a lot of money.
That's crazy. I seen $100,000 bet. They reported on ESPN. I think Caesar's Palace took $100,000 bet on Washington. Good for him. If I had that kind of money, I would do it.
Right. Because you're an executive chef, Wes. You make a living playing sports, John. But if you sell marijuana and they won't allow you to take credit cards, and all you have is cash. Right? Yeah. 100 grand ain't a lot of money.
You might as well dump it somewhere, I guess, right?
All right, so let's see.
That's a lot of drink tickets. That's a lot of drink tickets for $100,000.
That'll reach your minimum. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna hop on. I'm gonna hop right into my book. I have actually contests in 2 books, but I only have money in one right now, so I'm gonna stay with the one I've got the money in kind of makes sense if you think about live betting. And sometimes the odds are different in live betting, but usually because it's so fast, they're very, very quick. So with the Ohio Lafayette game, Black Hawk West, I'm going to put you in charge of keeping us up to date on that. And then I'm going to give John responsibility for the once that game starts, the NFL game, to keep us in the loop on that, because otherwise my head will explode, because I've got all the college stuff. I've got all the stuff I got to do for the show. I got the pro stuff. I got the Canadian football stuff. I'm like, if the Lord takes me during this show, do not even have a funeral for me, guys. I'm in a good place right now. So let's talk about let's do this. John, what do you want to talk about right now? What are you most excited about over the next 3-4 days?
I mean, I'm looking forward to football Sunday. It's got to be NFL for me. As stated before, I'm not really that much of a big college guy, but even though we had a great college season to start so far, so I'm looking forward to Saturday. But it's Sunday for me. It's going to be NFL Sunday. It's going to be obviously looking to cash tickets and looking to hopefully go 5-0, or I'll take another 4-1 in circuit and keep up on that.
No, know, right now, you do 4-1, you're going to be up to the top, because 80% ain't winning that contest. It's going to be 5%, and 70 ain't winning, 80 ain't winning. You're not going to do that high. Well, that one guy did 70 one year, I think.
The one guy did 70. Yeah, you got to be in the high 60s.
Starbucks guy, if I remember correctly. You know.
Yeah. You got to be in the high 60s. So
what about going to Pittsburgh after that win, where they thought they lost, and they thought they won, and then they didn't win, and then they thought they lost with the interception? That was just some crazy stuff. You couldn't write that, and I'm a pretty good writer. You couldn't write that because nobody would believe that would happen. You know. Yep. And oh my God, think about all those people in the book. You were there. You may not remember, John, but you were there. I have proof. You have a situation where, oh my God, the game, once that happens, now you could lose getting 4.5. Because if Baltimore gets a big break, Lamar Jackson ain't going to pull the guy from the Rams and slide at the 10 and kick it. Oh, he's going the whole way. So that had to be just a crazy environment, John, huh?
Oh yeah, it was the sports book. Everybody was going nuts there at the end. Obviously, you got still some of the diehard Oakland fans that are here in Vegas, but just to have that first, Vegas kind of NFL team and win, and the way that Carr kind of came back, in that fourth quarter and even into that overtime, that game was electric. You couldn't ask for a better first game in Vegas, I don't think.
I agree. Now, Wes, we had talked in the past, Wes, about as these states open up, the books are going to have to deal with the lines accordingly, because the Devils are going to get bet more in New Jersey than they do in Vegas, and so that was probably a big time hit for the casinos, wouldn't you think, Wes?
Yeah, and they also have to compete with this little device that we all carry around in our pockets and can't live without. But I agree with you as far as the lines go. Here in Kansas City, the world is on the Chiefs. I think the stat you pulled the other night was the Chiefs are 1-8 or 1-9 in their last few games, but don't give that information to any Chiefs fan. The Chiefs are going to win by 50 tomorrow if you ask any Chiefs fan. And of course, the city is happy and they're Red Friday and all of those things, but they just flat out don't cover spreads. But yes, an adjustment will need to be made. And especially with these casinos that have a national presence versus, the regional.
No doubt about it. All right, so let's look at where we're at. Now, we're going to take a break now, and when we come back, we're going to talk to John about some Saturday or some NFL Sunday stuff. But we're going to look at the Easy Sports data trends as well. Then what we're going to do is get the college football. Now you don't get, Canadian football. You don't get all the Canadian football tonight. Sorry, that's not how it works. You get some of it tonight, and you get some of it Saturday morning. If you don't like that, you don't have to cash the tickets. You know what? We're going to cash the tickets either way. You're listening to Sports Betting Weekly on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, and the Sports Betting Channel.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
At ChampionshipFootballs.com, they offer a 100% money-back guarantee on every single souvenir football that they sell. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. There's nothing worse than trying to find the right gift for somebody that already has everything. Whether that special present is for a New England Patriots fan or an Ohio State Buckeyes backer. Maybe Gramps is a lifelong New York Giants supporter. Or your brother-in-law is a 12th man living in Seattle. Know a member of the Michigan State Alumni Association? Is there a better Father's Day gift for someone who's a Baltimore Ravens fan? Send them the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, if your favorite pro team is the Buffalo Bills or those Minnesota Vikings, well, they're sorry about that. Also, if you're a New Mexico State Aggies or Tulane Green Wave alumnus, not much they can do. After all, the name isn't nice effort, you had a pretty good season, footballs.com. The name is championshipfootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
Hey, this is an important message. I'm Second Half Chaz from Sports Betting Weekly. Sports betting is supposed to be a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. If you're hurting yourself by gambling with money you don't have, check out our website for the Gamblers Anonymous phone number.
When Vince Young scored on 4th and 5 in the 2006 Rose Bowl, two things happened. The Texas Longhorns won the NCAA title, and ChampionshipFootballs.com was born. From Texas to Alabama to Ohio State, and now for Super Bowl winners too. ChampionshipFootballs.com is the place for the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, 10 years later, ChampionshipFootballs.com has the autographs too. See if any of these names remind you of a special time in your football life. Michael Bennett, Lou Holtz, Joe Montana, Devin Smith, Jameis Winston, Rocky Blyer, Rocket Ishmael, Ara Parsegian, Mike Stonebreaker, Chris Zorich, Luther Bradley, Todd Light, Tony Rice, Lawrence Taylor, Dave Casper, Marcus Mariota, Rudy Rudiger, David Tyree. Enter the promo code RADIO and you'll instantly save $50 on any of the ChampionshipFootballs.com autographed footballs. ChampionshipFootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Welcome back to Sports Betting Weekly. I am Second Half Chaz. If it's a little after 20 after 8 on New York time, you're watching us on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network live, and you haven't cashed a ticket yet. Do you know why you haven't cashed a ticket yet? Because the games are really just starting. That's the only reason. Really, it's a technicality, but by the end of the night, you will cash tickets with what we do, because pretty much every week we cash tickets. Now, one of the things that we talked about was Wes keeping an eye on the Ohio Bobcats, Louisiana Raging Cajuns game. What do you want to tell us?
Yes, we have a score. We have a score, and it is 7-0. Raging Cajuns have seen the end zone. So we're still alive in our live play because there's no spread involved. It's just team total, but we're 7-0 right now. And Ohio has the ball. It's about 11 and change.
Yeah, Ohio took the opening kickoff, made it to about midfield, and kicked the ball down to the 9, which is not bad. And then ULL proceeded to go 91 yards in 4 minutes and 10 plays. But I have over in the first quarter as well, so I'm okay. I'm okay right now with that score. I'm going to need. I don't have the first quarter. You have the first quarter, right, for that field goal. Is that what you have?
I'm on the first quarter.
I only have the over in the first quarter. John, the other game hasn't kicked, right? It's just 5:20.
Yeah, they're getting real close here, but haven't officially kicked off yet. Yep.
My wife watches America's Got Talent, and if she had seen my screen right now, you were frozen. You weren't moving a lip, but you're clear as a bell talking, and it looked like you were playing ventriloquist. It was really pretty good. What's that, Jeff Dunham guy? He's pretty funny. All right, so let's talk about the NFL on Sunday. John normally isn't really even looking to know who he's talking about. Are you at this point in the week?
Yeah, there's 2 games that I keyed on for Sunday that I really like a lot, that I can probably talk about a little bit here. The first one's going to be the Denver Broncos. I'm really high on the Denver Broncos this year. So I'm actually looking to take them again on the road. Jacksonville's going to have obviously, some time to improve with the quarterback and everything. I just think that Denver is just extremely talented on both the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. I think they're going to give, obviously issues at the quarterback for Lawrence. And so I see Denver going in and taking that one, covering the spread. And actually, I'm going to call it again. I'm on the Raiders. I'm jumping on the Raiders again in Pittsburgh. I'm actually going to look for some opportunities to probably nibble on a money line option there again to see. But I like the Vegas traveling into Pittsburgh again this week.
Well, yeah, if we talked about it with one of my guys earlier in the week about, coming back with a team that treats you to a money line victory. You know what? It seems like it would make sense. So I'm going to throw one stat out at you. First of all, I'm a big Bridgewater fan, okay? it was heartbroken because he won me so much money in college.
Yeah.
Heartbroken when he got hurt. But in their last 12 games at home, in the first quarter, Jackson's against the spread record. Where's the drum roll? 1-11. 1-11 at home. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
That means it's more than last year, right?
Yeah, it's got to
only be 8. Even if they played at home this week, I don't think they did. Did they get beat?
I forgot if they. Yeah, I don't know if they played at home week 1 or not. I forget. Yeah. I don't think. Yeah.
So that's where we're standing there. Do you got a Denver opinion, Wes?
No, I don't. I like John's call. It's not one of my plays, but I could see why he likes it, and I do like the call.
What about his other talk? You had some money line action on the Raiders. You coming back?
Yeah, I did the same thing as John and jumped on it. I don't lay up front action on Monday night, but the way that game was going, I mean, you just felt it in the building, the momentum. You just knew that they were going to win that game. So I'm not touching that Raiders Steelers game because I think that the Raiders, they can do a lot on offense. Derek Carr is underappreciated, and they can do a lot on offense. I don't know if the Steelers are going to keep up with them offensively, but their defense is nasty, and they didn't look as good as they're capable of looking this past week. And I don't think playing Buffalo does their defense any justice because Buffalo's offense is very, very, very good. So, that game, if I were to pick it, I would be on the other side and I'd be taking the Raiders, I'd be on the Steelers. But that's not one of my plays either. It just
I have a play on that game. The Easy Sports Data play, and this wouldn't shock you, is to take the Pittsburgh Steelers team total over. And the reason is the Raiders games go over. Every single game goes over. I mean, when I looked at the Easy Sports Data for the second half, I told John it's going to be electric because all I see is O's. All they do is score points and give up points. It's like, okay, halftime, let's go out and kick some ass. I don't know what.
Yeah, Denver. I'm sorry, the Vegas Raiders. They struggle, especially the cornerback and secondary positions. They always give up a ton of points, and I think as you can see, that almost kind of eludes Carr to have a big point, a big game. And I mean, we've seen it in that first half when that relatively low scoring. Something had to change in that second half. So yeah, the over. I wouldn't be mad at that over team total for.
Remember, it was like 24. The second half was 24, and they only had 3, and the next thing you know, they scored 40. Oh, I think you could give us an update if you have one, Wes.
Nothing. Numeric yet. But we are. Ohio is at the 10-yard line on 3rd and 1. So a field with 4 minutes to go in the first quarter. So a field goal is looking promising. But 3rd and 1, they could get it, and I mean we're up to time. But we're in good position right now to nail that first quarter.
All right, so rather than just doing your silent clapping thing, which does me no good if I'm not looking at the screen and I'm looking at the camera, or I'm looking at my sheet, or I'm looking at the clock, or I'm looking at whatever I'm looking at, just say they got the first down or they did. That's all I need. I don't need the clapping because, as you know, they're a running team too, but they'll throw the ball. But the red zone in college, man, it's not like in the pros. In the pros, the red zone, they get points. In the college game, they kick it off the upright. They do all kinds of stuff weird. They really do. All right, so where are we at next? We were going to talk about the other trend that I had for you didn't mention it, and maybe Wes will mention is these Indy in the first quarter. Their last 12 at home, 10-1-1. So that's 12 too. So in 12 games in the first quarter, Jacksonville's 1-11. Indy has had 10 of the 12 go over. Actually, 10-1-1. So it's really 10-11. And at home, no, that's at home. Then Dallas overall 9-2 over in the first quarter. So those are stats that technically you're looking at winning, 30 and losing 3 of those plays if that trend continues. And
that's crazy.
That's crazy stuff. And you know what? You don't see it until it just jumps right off the Easy Sports Data report, because you see all these L's, or you see them, and they just go back and back and back. And I've had times recently where I had to add another year to the report just to see how far back it went, because it went back more than just the 1 year,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with all those numbers and data, I mean, that old saying goes, numbers don't lie.
Yep.
So when you have all that information right there in front of you, it makes it a lot easier to see where you should be putting your money at.
No doubt about it, John. You're absolutely right. So we have lost Wes, and it was 3rd and 1.
Oh, yeah. Right as we needed the update.
Yeah, they didn't get it. It was 4th and 1. He's ahead of me because I'm not watching the game on the TV because I got my other monitors busy. But they had a false start on 4th and 1. So I'm thinking they got to be kicking, but I haven't seen the 3 go up. He missed the 31-yarder.
Are you serious? Oh my God.
Goodness.
Wide right.
Brutal.
Oh, that's college, though. What are you going to do?
Oh, yeah.
That's college.
It's tough with those kickers.
Yeah. College kickers. All right, so we're going to, before we get into some Canadian football, I want to throw one game. There's a UCF is playing. They're on the
tomorrow
road in the first half. They're 12-1 their last 13 games. But in the second half, Louisville is my play. So I am doing the second half Chaz Productions play, where I'm betting only the first half with UCF and then only the second half in Louisville. Now, they won't allow me to do that in a parlay. So if I have an open parlay with UCF in the first half and it wins, they won't allow me to put Louisville in there in the second half. However, it looks great. Occasionally you could pull it off, and it looks great when you got the 2 different teams that are playing each other and you cash the ticket. The 2.6 helps, don't get me wrong. So, all right, so Canadian football, Blackhawk West.
Canadian football. So
2 games Friday is what we're talking about.
Yeah,
you could hear Blackhawk West give you all 4 games. The problem is not tonight. You got to do 2 tonight and then 2 Saturday morning, because what is it? It's Saturdays in Canada on to be determined. All right, Canada. So we got Calgary at Hamilton and Toronto at Sask.
Yeah. So Calgary at Hamilton. I am taking the 3.5 points in Calgary. Hamilton the last couple weeks they haven't scored a ton of points. Calgary really hasn't either. But the return of Bo Levi Mitchell last week, and he had a great game. And Calgary, the team appeared to rally around him, and they hung 32 points on what had been a pretty well-performing Edmonton team. And the defense even rallied around. And I had talked about it last week. Trevor Harris for Edmonton, he had thrown a ton of touchdowns, very efficient. He had a really good couple-week run, almost 700 yards. And, he hit a wall, and that wall was Calgary. And I think Calgary is going to go into Hamilton, and the 3.5 is going to be a gift. It may be a 3-point game, but, I am, call me a fanboy, but there's Bo Levi Mitchell with the ball in his hands. He can do anything. And going into Hamilton and covering 3.5, I like it.
And that's the first game on Friday. And then there's the second game.
Yep. So the second game, this is Sask is going to take revenge on somebody for what has happened to them for the last 2 weeks. Sask is a 5-point favorite, and they're going into Toronto, and Toronto has had some. There's not a lot of information about what truly is going on, but there's some drama going on behind the scenes with coaching staff and things of that nature, and that's just. There's a lot more breakdown that I've done on this game, but that coaching drama going against Sask and Cody Fajardo that is coming off of 2 terrible weeks getting roughed up by Winnipeg, Sask laying 5, Toronto's defense is not the greatest, and now they're going up against what could be at times the best offense in all of CFL. So I'm laying 5 and taking Saskatchewan.
You're not kidding. When you look at these last 2 games, they haven't scored a point in the second half. Not a point. They scored 17 points in 2 games. And
Winnipeg caught fire, and they had Harris come back, and so their running game got a little bit of a boost. They got some monsters on defense. So, I just didn't expect them to get dominated like that. It's not going to stay that way this week. I think that those frustrations will get taken out on a team that's coming to your house with some coaching drama.
And so there's that's what you got to do. You got to put in a 4-teamer, but see, what's the problem? That second 2 games don't come out till Saturday. Well, that's why you find a book that has open parlays, and I want to put 4 pieces in there. I'm going to fill 2 now, and they'll usually say, well, you got to have them, filled out, or you lose them by Monday or Tuesday of next week. But that's okay, because Saturday morning you get up. And by the time you're done getting his 2 games for Saturday, you could also wake and bake. And who's better than you? Who is better than you? All right, so when we come back from break, we're going to pick John's brain a little bit more about that 4-1 circuit contest he's done. Not that Wes's 3-2 is bad. You're listening to Sports Betting Weekly on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, on Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, and on the Sports Betting Channel.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Sports Betting Weekly.
You keep lying when you ought to be truthing. And you keep losing when you ought to not bet.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Welcome back to Sports Betting Weekly here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, and the Sports Betting Channel. I'm going to go out to John from GMF Sports Consultants because I think we need to get an update, because I think I'm going with my first live play of the night. John.
Yeah, we got a touchdown by the Giants. Daniel Jones just punched it in. I think that was maybe an 8-yard run. But, yeah, Giants are on the board with a touchdown middle way through the first quarter.
What was it, a long drive? Was it the opening kickoff? Do you know?
They started at the 30. They originally got the ball at the 40, but then had a couple penalties to push them back. So it was a fairly decent drive, 70-yard drive. That took up a majority of the first 6 minutes. So Washington started the game, but they went 3 and out. So the Giants kind of controlled the clock there. They took a lot of time off, and they put 7 on the board. Daniel Jones.
All right, so I went in live like last week. I cashed with the over. I went in live with the over when it didn't score. This time I'm going the opposite. I'm going back with the under. I like the under at 40. I like it at 47, and I bet enough on it that if it lands in the middle, I'm okay. Yep. So we'll see what happens. How much time is left in the first quarter?
There's still about 7 minutes left.
Okay. All right. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping we'll have long drives and not a lot of them. But that's more points than I thought the Giants would score in the first half. So I'm behind the 8 ball there. But we'll see what happens. You know what? All we got to do is get a couple drives that run out. The best part about unders is those 4th and 1s from the red zone that they don't get because they run it up the middle. Now, I hate when they run it up the middle, but when I got the under, I'm all for it. My wife gets mad. I'll stand up and give them a standing ovation because that is the worst play call in the world, is running it up the middle. Actually, Baltimore had a couple, and I think Vegas had one too. I think there was like 2 or 3 4th down plays in that game that were just, what the hell is this coach calling? Who's calling that play?
Yeah.
That was terrible.
There was a couple that Vegas made that kind of baffled me, and also some of the throws that Carr made. I don't know, maybe if it was the first game of the season, but besides the fourth quarter, but early in the game, he was kind of making me upset. Obviously, when you have money on him and you have him in a circle play, every missed throw is going to make you upset. There was some calls.
It's personal. At that point, it's personal.
Yeah. Very personal.
All right.
I say in this Monday game, I think the same thing. I think the Washington's going to run the ball, see what their defense can do in the first half. I really don't think they're going to let really Heineke kind of get crazy too much until the second half. So I think this should be a quiet first half.
All right, let's talk to Blackhawk West from 151 Sports Investing about your plays on Chicago sports options today for this weekend.
Yeah, so we got the college plays up, the NFL, because I am also in the circa. I'm going to take my time with it and make sure in a world that we have all this going on, you just don't know who's in and who's out. And
when do they have to be in by?
They have to be in by 5 o'clock on Saturday, and I'm going to milk every bit of it. It just 2 o'clock. Is that what you're waving at me? Well, I'm on Central Time, but they have to be in on Saturday.
Yeah, a little time difference. Yep.
There are some NFL games I'll tell you I am looking at. I really like the Saints. Again, I look at the Panthers and how they did not produce too much offensively against the Jets last week. And then you look at the Saints and what they did on defense against Aaron Rodgers. You don't intercept Aaron Rodgers very often, and they did it twice. And then I look at what J-Mo did, and 5 touchdowns, and this guy's gonna have a big year. I think that year behind Drew Brees really did a lot for him. And this is a quarterback that has always had just guts, and he'll go for it and he'll run it, and he's a leader. I mean, you go back to Florida State, he was clutch in the second half a lot. So 3.5 feels like a gift to me with New Orleans. So I'll throw that one out there, and then I vividly remember last year when we were talking, and I believe it was Muhammad that was talking me out of the Ravens and into the Chiefs when this happened. And the Chiefs, I will be very angry at myself on Monday morning if I pass up the opportunity to take the Chiefs and only lay 3 points when they're coming off of a game where they had to perform a miracle comeback and they got walked on all game. So I feel bad for Baltimore this week.
Yeah, and again, there's no doubt that the best teams come back. I got to ask you, do you know how old Jameis Winston is?
I'm gonna guess 28-ish.
The bottom line is part of his problem was balls he shouldn't throw. You could get away with at Florida State, right? Is that where he went to school?
Yeah, Florida State.
You can't get away with that in the NFL. Everybody can catch and everybody's fast. You get to college, right? I've been there. You can't catch. Go play quarterback. You're pretty fast. Maybe you'll put you in safety if you're big enough. But in the NFL, they all can catch, and you can't make those mistakes. Well, Drew Brees never made those mistakes.
No.
Drew Brees threw the ball out of bounds. He threw it at somebody's feet. Mm-hmm. Did he have a pick or two? Sure he did, but he didn't have as many picks as he had touchdowns. And therefore, I think you're absolutely right, sitting there and watching how he handled that team. And remember, the last 3 years, the Saints got screwed in the playoffs. Oh, my God. Tough losses, crazy losses, between the Rams, between Minnesota, and then last year, I forget what happened, but it was the same situation, that you feel bad for him. But, he had his ring. You can't make up that story that coming back from a hurricane and winning the Super Bowl. It's kind of like when Vegas won the NHL. You can't make that stuff up. It happens so few times in reality. So, all right. What about Saturday, Blackhawk West?
So Saturday, I'm on a few of them, and I there's some odd things that I did. I was looking at the Alabama game, and Bama's kind of my go-to where I don't like to lay up front action on them because they kind of tell us how the game is going and they present opportunities to us. Last week they got off to a slow start, and about 5 minutes or so to go in the first quarter, we jumped on them over 27.5 for the first half, and they covered it. And they're that kind of team. So I don't like to put up front action on Bama because they're a good go-to for live action to either push your winnings forward or save you from a problem. But, this week I looked at Bama, and I'm on them in the first half again. Last week we took them over 27.5 first half. I'm looking at the first half at 18.5 and taking that over. That's less than 3 touchdowns, and that's one of my plays for Saturday.
Well, what's funny there is because they score with every part of a game. So there's 3 parts of a game. There's special teams, there's offense, and there's defense. But Alabama is always blocking a punt or returning a kick or pick sixes or scooping scores. Every game they seem to get one. So you're absolutely right. They can really, on a dime, they could go from 3-0 to 27-0. You know.
Yeah. They can. The other one that I'm on that I posted for the members, this will be the third week in a row now that we have an investment in a Penn State game. And the first week, Penn State won outright as dogs at Wisconsin. Last week, they won and covered a big one for us. I think it was 22.5. And I just kind of felt like that was going to happen. They got a left-handed quarterback, and God, the ball looks weird when he throws it, but he has got a cannon on him. But this is a whiteout game. They're going against Auburn, and I strongly believe the only reason that Auburn is even getting points in this game is because they're coming off of 2 games where they didn't really play a ranked opponent or even a Power 5 opponent. I got it at 5, and I'm taking Auburn. They put up 60 points 2 weeks in a row. That is hard for the 3 of us to do in the backyard against air, let alone against a Division I football team. So I don't know that they go in and win it. But, Penn State, they should have won bigger last week against Ball State. They struggled against Wisconsin, and I think Wisconsin's going to play out to be a ho-hum kind of team. They're not very explosive on offense. So Auburn is SEC. I mean, that SEC, I mean, that's not for no reason. And Auburn, they usually go on some run where they should have been in the championship, but they lost like 2 weird ones, but then they're 10-2. So I love Auburn and taking the 5 points in that one.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I'm not a big Penn State and big game guy because they don't always show up. And if I'm going to ask, if you just cover my eyes and say, okay, the team on the left is the SEC and the team on the right is the Big Ten, I figure I got a 50% shot of having a good team coming out of the SEC, and Auburn is on that list. I got 3 teams in the, maybe 4 in the Big Ten that I could put to rest. And remember what I talk about with sports betting lessons, guys, is ask yourself, if this bet loses, will you be sick to your stomach? Because you just mentioned that a few minutes ago. I do it every single time I make a play. I say, if I don't want to bet this, or if I'm going to bet it, and I say to myself, if you don't bet it and it wins, will you be sick? If you bet it and it loses, will you be sick? And there are times I say yeah on bets because they would, and I'll make my play accordingly. Either I'll back off or I'll go in, because the last thing you want to do is really feel like you lost twice. You didn't get the money, and then you're kicking yourself because you like the play, but you didn't pull the trigger. So that's what I call my how sick to the stomach would I be tomorrow? And you mentioned it about Monday with the Chiefs.
Yep, that's just it with them. 6.5, I walk away from the Chiefs. The 8.5, but 3.5, coming off a very ugly performance.
Yeah, I was my son and I were watching that game, and so what happened is Hill had a big play, right? And we laughed because him and Mahomes together, they have a second sense or something, and you can't stop that. I mean, it was the play where, remember, Hill stopped, caught the ball, the guy kept running, he turned around and ran the other 15 yards the other way into the end zone, So it'll be interesting to see. All right, so let's get some updates. First, Wes, on the ULL game.
We are 14-0 Ragin' Cajuns, and we're on a 3rd and 8 Ohio ball, and they're on their own 15. So not the most promising start to this game.
No, and again, I don't. When I'm in a situation where I'm not on a game, I'm not on a total. I'm on just a team total. I don't have a problem with a big lead, because what that normally means is the other team's going to have to open it up. So Ohio's going to have to start throwing the ball and score some points to stay in this game. They can't just keep handing off and doing options and stuff like that. That's not going to work. So what about John from GMF Sports Consultants in the NFL game?
Still 7-0. Giants got the ball back. It was another 3 and out. They've been kind of on the sideline as far as time-wise because a Giant was injured. Looks like one of the offensive linemen got hurt. So there's still about 5 minutes left in the first quarter. because of the injury time there. So the Giants are still up 7-0.
Yeah, so we've only got a few more minutes here today, but that's going to be great. We've got two good games that are going to, I think, offer opportunity. Let me do this. While I'm here, let me go back in the live action, and I'll see where the total stands. It's dropping now. It's down to 46.5, so it went down a point since I hopped on it. I'll take that. And like I said, ULL game, I'm going to look at some second half data on that game, and I may continue to go with a double down on Ohio scoring some points, only because everybody scores, and that's the one thing about live action, and it works so well this summer, John, with baseball. As you know, you're the number one baseball guy, is where a team scored 4 runs or more in every single game for the last 8 or 9 games, and all of a sudden they got nothing in the 6th inning, and you get it at 1.5 or 2.5, and boom. So that's what I'm going to look for. I'm going to keep rooting for ULL, and I hope they dominate. I don't have any problems not betting them. The opportunity that I saw was with Ohio scoring, and I'm going to stick with that. But it's not a big play. My big play this weekend, though, coming into Saturday, is that UCF first half and Louisville second half. And I'm not sure about this book because I use 2 or 3 different books. They don't do open. Most casinos, John, right? You can't walk in and do an open parlay. Say,
they don't let you do that. Only on most of the offshore books in Vegas, they don't let you do that. Yeah.
Right. And I don't get it because to me, if you offer a payout, Wes, right at halftime, like they do at Bovada, you would think they would do open parlays. I love open parlays, and what I really love is having open parlays when I was right and I spread it out. So rather than do one big open parlay, I'll do 4 half-unit open parlays. And so I did that with the second half of that game, with the Vegas game, John, because I told you I thought it was going to be electric. I went in pretty heavy for me on that game, and you know what? It was after the first 15 minutes of the second half, I'm thinking, well, you know what? That didn't work out well. And then bada boom, bada bing. So I'm hoping that'll work tonight with Ohio. All right, before we get going, John, anything else about this weekend? You got any deals going with your Instagram account? I guess I will find out in a minute. How about you, Blackhawk West? When do you think you'll have your Chicago sports options page picks up for the NFL?
The NFL picks. I'm going to put the 2 that I just gave out. I'm going to put those up. That way, if the lines move, the members can get on them. But I'll probably have them up at some point tomorrow, knowing that there's time on the Circa plays. And then if I put up something different, if I'm going to put something different into the Circa than what I've given the members, I'll throw that out there and just say Circa play. And you know, they know how to follow it.
So, John, what we asked you before you slid out there was any deals on Instagram for your peoples this weekend?
We're doing for GMF. We're doing a 4-day package, so you can jump on any 4 days you want to do. Friday, Saturday, you know, obviously Sunday, Monday, or later in the week if you want to do it. And we're going to get all sports. You're going to get a little bit of my MLB, a little bit of college, and a lot of NFL. That's for $50. So you're going to get 4 days for $50. That's about $12.50 a day. You obviously can't beat that. So jump on board if you want to get on the team for the weekend. And, you know, let's look to cash some more tickets.
Yep. And so if you want anything to do with this easy sports data, that it's just really made my life so much better because like I talked to Wes, when you go and you check in on Saturdays in Canada, there was some incredible data that he didn't know. Now, this is a guy that knows pretty much everything there is to know about CFL football, and he didn't know that. So those are the kind of things that I'm looking for, and they just jump right off the page. When you see nothing but L's or nothing but O's or nothing but U's or nothing but W's, they jump right off the page. They really do. So I'm pretty excited, and that's available at BellyUpFantasySports.com. BellyUpFantasySports.com. I'm going to say that again slower. BellyUpFantasySports.com. But I also created a Win More Bets now. You know how we have our cash tickets, little bit.ly short link. It allows you to do a URL that's very, very long and make it short. So the Win More Bets Now bit.ly link will work for Belly Up Sports. I'm excited about a couple things this weekend in the NFL because I have some plays. And normally, as you guys know, I don't really do so much NFL plays for the show. But because I'm doing the Easy Sports Data, and I have to have that done by Tuesday, no different than your Circa plays. If you got a deadline, you got to do what you got to do. So I'm on Denver, like John mentioned. I like the Rams. They're just good. I got team total over for the Steelers. I like New Orleans, just like you said, Wes. I love Seattle. Seattle is my survivor pick, right? That's what they call that? I don't know. Yep. I'm usually knocked out. It's week 2. I'm usually knocked out by now. So actually, I had Tampa Bay week 1, and they were losing with like.
That was close. There was a lot of people who would have. A lot of people would have got knocked out in those
Liverpool going.
Yeah.
And then I like over. I mentioned I think it's a slam dunk over in the Kansas City Baltimore game. I really do. But my money line underdog play of the week is Philly at home because they just cover at home. And I'm hoping not only do they cover, but then maybe San Francisco fan, you know how those Philly fans will throw things at the San Francisco players. Maybe they'll hit one of them. That's an important guy. When the important guys go out for the other team, you always feel bad, but it's real nice. It's real nice. All right, guys, as always, we appreciate your help. We appreciate your winners. You are listening to the end of Sports Betting Weekly and the beginning of the Loudmouths, because the Loudmouths follow us next here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You can check out sportsbettingweeklylive.com to see the show tomorrow. Also, the Sports Betting Channel and Belly Up Sports Podcast Network. Otherwise, guess what? We get to see you Saturday morning on To Be Determined, where you'll always be cashing.